Citizens of the world, welcome back to another Keep Yours podcast where we try and keep a few more dollars in your pocket. This is going to be the beginning of our COVID-19 series. The last few weeks, it's been hard to kind of try and promote and generate content, and most of the stuff that we try and put out is more like a college education course or high school education course on different topics of finance. And when we're dealing with life and death situations, we often joke in financial circles that, there aren't emergencies. We're not dealing with life and death. And so when life and death is really present, as a financial person, I always try and step back because it's not the most important thing to talk about. Now, a lot of people have been mostly worried about their 401k portfolio and their losses and is the market low enough. But for me to continue talking about ways you can save money buying a car or how to understand marginal tax rates, it hasn't felt right to me over the past couple weeks. So we haven't put a lot of content out. I've been trying to take a break during that time and assess what's happening in the world. This is truly an unprecedented situation, as we all know. Our parents have never seen anything like this. The closest thing our grandparents would have seen would have been the Great Depression. And that's kind of where we're at the beginning of the precipice, is what a lot of us believe is this could very well be the next lead into the Great Depression. So for a while we're dealing with life and death, it makes sense to push finance to the back burner. But I also have a lot of friends, business owners, and individuals who are suffering and need some help with the direction and the planning to help them with what's going on mentally with them so they can sleep better at night and help with their stress levels. So if there's something that I can do to help that, and this helps a few people, then I'm more than willing to jump back in the seat and get down to topics that are going to help people. Also, literally moments ago as I'm recording this, the president just signed the biggest relief bill or spending bill, whichever way you want to call it, $2 trillion plus. Just signed that, passed by the House today. So that's going to be enacted soon. I read that last night. There's some things to discuss in there. There's definitely help for small business owners who have a going concern, meaning their business they expect to be able to continue to be viable if they can get some help with paying some wages and some rent right now. So to me, the first thought when it comes to a situation like this is we have to not be overly concerned with ourselves. We have to be more concerned with our communities and our country and how we're going to actually help save lives. My wife and I live in Eagle County, Colorado, and this was one of the first communities that was really hard hit. The ski communities here bring in a lot of tourists from around the world. Those are the people that are flying country to country, and that's basically how your outbreak starts. And the closing of the ski resorts has been really crushing to a lot of people in this community. And the infections on top of that and shutting down the economic engine basically for the rest of the year. You have a lot of temp workers here. You have a lot of people whose businesses rely on that income stream. And it's been a pretty consistent one for a very long time. So it's very hard to deal with this shock here. And that's not unique to us. I mean, the whole city of Las Vegas is shut down. And that whole city requires that people be traveling and coming to spend money on entertainment. So I hope that everybody takes heed, and it seems like people are finally starting to stay at home unless you need to be out there. Practice social distancing, minimize your activities. Our hospital systems are already overwhelmed. It's going to get super ugly. If the best thing that we can do is what I'm told by the governor of Colorado is to just stay at home, then we can do that. That's the least we can do to support what are now our soldiers in the field. But those are doctors and nurses and EMTs and firefighters who are out dealing with sick patients, trying to get them care. And those are now the soldiers of this war. And we need to support them as best we can. While it's really painful to me to see what's supposed to be the greatest country in the world so underprepared. And that's probably the greatest lesson we'll take away from this. We need to listen to professionals more, not the professional politicians. I believe that Governor Jared Polis of Colorado has done an excellent job of being honest and applying the right tools at the right time, shutting down the ski resorts when he did, asking people to self-quarantine, asking people to social distance. And then we get silliness on top of that. As soon as the mayor tried to shut down dispensaries and liquor stores, there was a mad rush, having the opposite of the intended effect, which is we want people more separated, and what do? We brought them all together again. That's not helping. Our hospitals are already about full. We need to have as few people get sick going forward as we can, or we're going to have to really choose between who gets to live and who gets to die. And that is supposed to be a question that we ask in our educational institutions as a theory question in ethics class, not a real world question because it's literally happening. But that's where we're at. So I pray for those who have to make those decisions. That is a very, very difficult decision to have to make of deciding who gets care. And I hope that the people that are on the front lines don't have to make that decision. Another lesson we're getting right now is how prepared we are personally and financially for a true emergency. While toilet paper panic buying is obviously just people trying to do something to feel in control, it's not a requirement for life. People lived long before the invention of toilet paper. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to be financially destroyed as a result of this outbreak. And for many of those people, it will not be their fault. And we have the spectrum of the restaurant that was 2 weeks away from opening to the poorly managed bodega. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. Everyone's asking now why business owners don't have months and months of cash on hand. I plan on doing an episode on that because people need to be educated on how this works, how hard it is to own a small business and run a small business, how close to going out of business all small businesses are. In the financial world and consulting world, we call this the 3-month going out of business curve, and every business is on it. If customers don't pay, if more clients don't generate additional revenue, and you continue to have expenses, no business lasts more than 3 months. It's just not going to happen. You're bankrupt quickly. And I'm going to show people why. I'm going to show people the math of how that happens and why. So right now, my thought is there's a lot of shaming, a lot of self-righteousness going on social media, and that makes it hard to be a part of that community. Locally, it seems like we're providing great support to our first responders, and as I said, our new soldiers that are soldiers in scrubs. They're the ones fighting this right now. The outpouring of support for them has been fantastic, and also for trying to help small local businesses stay in business. And obviously we all individually have this trade-off of we want to help our small local businesses, but we also want to protect ourselves financially, and trying to find the right balance in that is very important. For those of us who are still working, who still have jobs, we find daily gratitude with this, and we acknowledge that our friends and family members who work in the travel industry, who work in restaurants, who work in hospitality, who work in retail, many of them have their lives changed for, not only immediately changed, but impacted for potentially years to come because of this. And this is not a time where we need to judge them for their mistakes of the decisions they've made in the past. This is going to be a very long recovery. This will likely be years, hopefully not decades, but it will be years before we get back to the full employment levels we had, and industries are expanding. We were already due for a correction because of the large amounts of debt. I talked about this last year, and nobody seemed very concerned about it, but unfortunately all of our debt levels, home ownership debt, car debt, credit card debt, student loan debt, and business debt are all at maximum highs. The highest they've ever been. So we were set up for a correction anyway. this is like throwing jet fuel on what should be that correction. And that's going to create some long-term economic damage. So we need to do some planning. We need to do some preparation. So for the now what for us, obviously we're all on lockdown for the next couple of weeks. If you're in more rural communities, you probably don't have the same transmission as the bigger cities are going to. But we do need to all do our part to try and, reduce unnecessary early deaths. I don't believe in using the word saving lives. The one thing we all have a guarantee of is that life is going to end for each and every one of us. So no one's life is perpetually saved. We just get an extension of our time here, which hopefully now we have a lot more gratitude for that. But then we ask the financially now what? As we still live in a society of capitalism, we still live in a world of money. The reason I started this podcast is to try and help other people. And there's going to be a lot of need. So we're going to help people without judgment of their situation. Regardless of how the stock market jumps up and down, the long-term impacts of this is going to be very deep and very drawn out. I don't care what the stock market's doing right now. I'm not going to talk about when the stock market's going to hit bottom. I'm just going to tell you that we are a long, long, long way from that. What can we do to help other people right now and to help them prepare to make the best out of their situation? Sometimes we use the word like take advantage, but maybe it's really how do we make lemonade out of lemons, or how do we minimize the damage? And we're all at different places. As I said, you could have been the business that was 2 weeks away from opening. Now you've laid off your entire staff. Is that restaurant going to be viable? I don't know. None of us really do. We don't know how long it's going to take, how long before people will be comfortable going out, but it will take time. This illness will continue to affect people for a while to come. Maybe we get lucky and get a vaccine. We will see. But as the might of American resources get thrown at it, I am sure that we will find better ways of dealing with it. And if we can just extend how long it takes everyone to get sick, then most people that need help, whose life can be extended, they're going to get it. So what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to talk people through their specific situations. It's very unfortunate, but tipped employees are probably the hardest hit by this in terms of their ability to collect unemployment benefits. Some of them are still working, but now at reduced hours and reduced wages with reduced customers. So they might be still working, but not making any money. That's super tough. And I have friends in that situation, and I feel for them. And I want to discuss their situations, good and bad, the entire spectrum. I am not here to judge your decision making in the past, and I'm here to support what may be your plan going forward, with maybe paying a little more attention to your budget or planning for what's going to be coming. I expect we're going to have a record number of bankruptcies over the next 2 years. Between this year, 2020 and 2021, I expect we'll have a record number of personal and business bankruptcies. So whether you're headed down that path of bankruptcy, whether you're requesting forbearance, or you're requesting refinancing of loans, or you're saving up to buy assets when they become available, and there will be a lot of distressed assets, on top of COVID-19 and on top of all of the debt pile, we also have an oil crash happening at the same time. So when you compound all of these things, there's going to be a lot of distress for a good while to come. So COVID-19 might put people in their houses. That might give you an opportunity to take a better look at your finances. Sometimes it takes an extreme event to pull us back, to make us look at the things that we know we should, but we've decided we don't really want to because they're not fun. So we'll support people in that. Let's go back and look at a budget. Let's look at a current analysis of where we are. One of the things that I'm going to do a lot of work on this over the next week, and particularly this weekend, is taking care of the estate documents that we all put off, me included. and I have not done these things, and I am a trained professional, which means that if I know better and I'm a trained professional, what are the odds that most other people haven't done these things? They're pretty high. So we're going to talk about wills and trusts and why you need a trust if you have children, so that you make sure your children get your money when you die. Medical power of attorney. These are things that we all need, that we need filled out. And now makes that very important, and it shows it to us. We're going to talk about insurance, all of it, from car to life and what you need to know. Unemployment benefits from the laws that just changed. Small business loans and loans forgiveness. We got a lot of topics to cover over the next week. This is just the beginning. But realize that as well, for this disease, this economic impact, we are at the starting line. So first, we support those who are out in the field, our soldiers and scrubs. And then we support our families, and we take some time to figure out how we can make our lives financially beneficial going forward based on the circumstances we're in. We're here to help. It's a tough time for all of us, but we will get through this. This too will pass. So thanks for listening. I hope that you tune in. I hope that these things help you. And if you have questions, you have concerns, you have a specific situation you'd like me to address, please feel free to reach out to us on our podcast, on Facebook, and we will try to address that. Thanks for listening. Talk to you very soon.